She finally went through the backyard to go in the garage, and she found my cousin laying on the floor, lifeless.
The search is on this afternoon for the person who killed a 30-year-old Chicago woman found strangled to death in her garage. It was not the first time she had been the victim of violence. In fact, she talked with us about it just a month ago.
I thought so that it's like, I don't know why a lot of people want to target young women. I guess because we women and they don't think that we're easy to target. I guess that's the situation. I guess that's the issue. Because we'll probably be more vulnerable to give up and let go or whatever the case may be.
We're honoring her legacy. We're honoring her life.
On September 18, 2023, a heartbreaking discovery was made in a parking garage on the 7800 block of South Indiana Avenue in Chicago. A mother found her 30-year-old daughter, Sierra Jamison, dead, her life tragically cut short. Sierra was not just a devoted mother but a determined woman who had fought through challenges, including surviving an attack just weeks before her untimely death. At the time of her murder, Sierra had been in a relationship with a 63-year-old man, described as her sugar daddy. After just a month of dating, he tracked her down and ended her life in an act of shocking brutality. He was later arrested and pressured to confess, revealing a chilling motive behind the crime. This is the tragic and deeply unsettling story of Sierra Jamison. Notably, just weeks before her death, Jamison had spoken out about violence against Black women in an interview with CBS 2. She recounted a previous incident where she was the victim of an attempted carjacking.
My Jeep, my Wrangler, that was something for a gift for myself because I know how hard I worked for it. I know how many sacrifices I've done for my family, my son, because he's been through a lot. My son had open heart surgery. He has a disability, so he means a lot to me. And I'm not finna let this young man with a knife at that take anything I work hard away from me.
Her untimely death underscores the very issues she sought to highlight. Before we begin the story, we want to take a moment to extend our heartfelt condolences to the friends, family, and loved ones of Sierra Jamison. This devastating loss has left an irreplaceable void in the lives of those who knew and cherished her. Sierra was a Chicago native, a city that, despite improvements in its crime rate, remains a hotspot for violence. In 2024, homicides in Chicago had dropped by 15% to 617, yet it still held the grim title of the U.S. murder capital for the 12th consecutive year. Sierra was a hardworking and ambitious woman. After completing her education, she pursued a career as a phlebotomist, a profession that showcased her dedication to helping others. But she wasn't stopping there. She had been preparing to enroll in nursing school, determined to create a brighter future for herself and her family. However, Sierra's greatest source of motivation was her 6-year-old son. He wasn't just the center of her world, he was the driving force behind her determination. Her son had faced serious health challenges from an early age, having been diagnosed with autism and undergoing open-heart surgery.
My son had open heart surgery. He has a disability, so he means a lot to me.
Despite these hardships, Sierra was relentless in her efforts to provide him with the best possible care and a life filled with love and security. She lived with her mother and 2 younger sisters in the Park Manor neighborhood of Chicago, where she created a warm and nurturing environment for her family. Her daily routine was centered around them. After work, she would come home, spend quality time with her loved ones, and shower her son with affection. She had big dreams for the future, envisioning moments like hosting grand family gatherings, celebrating holidays, and building a life filled with love and stability. In fact, Sierra had just celebrated a major milestone, her 30th birthday. It was a time of joy, hope, and dreams of a brighter future. But tragically, that future was stolen from her far too soon. Her family cherished the moment as a testament to Sierra's ambition and the love she poured into every aspect of her life. Surrounded by those who mattered most, her mother and her 6-year-old son, Sierra radiated pride. It wasn't just about celebrating another year, it was about acknowledging her accomplishments and the bright future she was building for herself and her child. Life seemed to be getting better and better for Sierra. As a dedicated phlebotomist preparing to enroll in nursing school, she was determined to advance her career and secure a stable, promising future for her family. Her birthday carried even more significance as she stood on the brink of new opportunities. Just weeks before turning 30, Sierra had rewarded herself with a Jeep Wrangler, a symbol of her relentless determination and years of hard work. Sierra's family described her as fiercely independent and incredibly goal-oriented. She constantly pushed herself to achieve more, all while keeping her loved ones at the center of everything she did. But even before her tragic death, Sierra had already faced a fight for her life. By the way, we post true crime stories and strange cases. If this interests you, please consider subscribing to our channel. Your support means a lot and helps us continue sharing this content. In 2022, she endured a terrifying attempted carjacking while filling up her gas tank. A man approached her, brandishing a kitchen knife, and demanded her keys, threatening her with violence. However, Sierra's quick thinking and determination played a crucial role in her survival. She noticed that the attacker seemed anxious and unsteady, which gave her the confidence to resist. Still, it wasn't an easy fight and she wasn't alone in it. 2 other women at the gas station stepped in to help. Thinking fast, Sierra asked one of them for a bat from her trunk. Armed with the bat, she confronted the carjacker, forcing him to flee the scene. Police later apprehended the man, and he was convicted of attempted aggravated vehicular hijacking, receiving a 4-year prison sentence. But that traumatic experience sparked something in Sierra. It led her to speak out publicly about violence against Black women. Just weeks before her murder, she gave a local news interview, hoping to raise awareness about the fears and challenges Black women face in today's society. Tragically, the very issue she fought to bring attention to would soon take her life.
My Jeep, my Wrangler, that was something for a gift for myself because I know how hard I work for it. I know how many sacrifices I've done for my family, my son, because he's been through a lot. My son had open heart surgery. He has a disability, so he means a lot to me. And I'm not finna let this young man with a knife at that take anything I work hard away from me. I thought so that it's like, I don't know why a lot of people want to target young women. I guess because we women and they don't think that we're easy to target. I guess that's the situation. I guess that's the issue because we'll probably be more vulnerable to give up and let go or whatever the case may be.
What Sierra didn't know was that no amount of strength or advocacy could protect her from the danger that was creeping into her life. At the center of this danger was a man she had trusted for nearly a decade, a 63-year-old man named Lawrence Curtis Boyle. 4 years, Sierra and Lawrence shared a close bond, one that many would describe as enviable. Their friendship was built on trust, loyalty, and mutual respect, at least on the surface. To outsiders, their connection seemed unshakable, the kind of friendship people admire and aspire to have. But beneath that seemingly solid foundation, something darker was festering within Lawrence. By August 2023, Lawrence made a decision that would change everything. He confessed his feelings to Sierra and proposed taking their friendship to the next level. To her, it seemed harmless. Why not explore a future with someone who already knew her so well? Who better to build a life with than a trusted friend? Or so she thought. What Sierra didn't realize was that this new relationship would become the beginning of a nightmare, one that would ultimately lead to her tragic death. Lawrence had a past riddled with violent behavior, a history that cast a long, ominous shadow. In 2011, he was charged with domestic violence and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Though the case was dropped just a month later, those details hinted at a dangerous side of him that would soon resurface in Sierra's life.
Boyle had a previous 2011 domestic violence aggravated assault with a deadly weapon arrest and was charged in March of that year. A month later, the case was dropped.
Yet, despite any warnings hidden in his past, she gave their relationship a chance. While most relationships start with love and excitement before cracks appear over time, Sierra and Lawrence's relationship was troubled from the very beginning. Almost immediately, Lawrence revealed himself to be a possessive and controlling partner, so much so that it became painfully clear why their bond had remained platonic for so many years, and why it should have stayed that way. It didn't take long for Sierra to realize she had made a mistake. Just a few weeks into the relationship, she had enough and decided to end things with Lawrence. But that decision would cost her more than she could have ever imagined. For Lawrence, the abrupt breakup was unbearable. What should have been a simple end to a short-lived romance felt like a deep betrayal. The decade-long friendship they once shared unraveled in just 4 weeks, and Lawrence couldn't handle it. His desperation turned into something far more sinister, something that would come at an unthinkable price. On the evening of September 18, 2023, Sierra returned home to her Park Manor neighborhood in Chicago after a normal day. She had no idea that lurking in the shadows of her garage on South Indiana Avenue was Lawrence, waiting for her with malicious intent. As she pulled into the garage, Lawrence ambushed her. Prosecutors later revealed that he initially hesitated, fearing that Sierra might be armed. But once he realized she wasn't, he launched his attack. He strangled her with his bare hands until she went limp. Even after she lost consciousness, he continued choking her, making sure she was dead. After the attack, Lawrence took Sierra's phone and attempted to cover his tracks. He concealed her lifeless body under a tarp in the garage, ensuring it remained hidden. Witnesses later reported seeing him leaving the garage shortly after the attack. Later that night, Sierra's brother became concerned about her whereabouts and confronted Lawrence. But instead of the truth, Lawrence spun a lie. He claimed that Sierra had thrown her phone at him and left for the store. This deception delayed immediate concern for her safety. As the night went on, Sierra's mother grew increasingly worried after failing to hear from her daughter. Her maternal instincts told her something was wrong. She went to check the garage, and there, beneath the tarp, she made the devastating discovery. Sierra's lifeless body had been hidden in plain sight, her life stolen in an act of pure cruelty.
30-year-old Chicago woman found strangled to death in her garage. It was not the first time she had been the victim of violence. In fact, she talked with us about it just a month ago. CBS 2's Marissa Perlman has the latest on that investigation.
In the hours following the devastating discovery of Sierra's body, Lawrence made a shocking confession. He called his ex-wife and admitted to strangling Sierra, a crucial moment that confirmed his guilt. But Lawrence didn't just confess. He took an additional step that suggested remorse.
Prosecutors say that Boyle admitted to his ex-wife and police to strangling Jamison. The judge ordered him detained.
On September 20, 2023, just 2 days after Sierra's murder, Lawrence turned himself in. He arrived at the police station and was taken into custody without incident. Authorities wasted no time in charging him with first-degree murder.
Prosecutors say she was killed by someone she knew well. The accused killer was in court today, so was our Suzanne Lemignot, and she's learning more about his violent past.
As more details about his violent past surfaced, including previous convictions for domestic violence and child abuse, the case quickly gained widespread media attention. Given the severity of the crime and the clear threat he posed to the community, the court ordered Lawrence to be held without bail. Shortly after his arrest, legal proceedings against Lawrence moved swiftly. His first court appearance took place on September 22, 2023, where prosecutors laid out the chilling details of the crime. During the hearing, Assistant State's Attorney presented a harrowing account of Sierra's final moments. The prosecution emphasized Lawrence's history of violence, highlighting past charges of domestic violence, child abuse, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon from 2011, a case that had been dismissed shortly after. Records also revealed that he had served time in North Carolina for child abuse and breaking and entering. Despite the severity of the charges, Lawrence's demeanor in court was disturbingly casual.
The assistant state's attorney told the judge he used his 2 hands to suffocate the life out of someone he was in a dating relationship with. Records uncovered by the CBS 2 investigators show Boyle was also convicted in 1993 of child abuse in North Carolina, and 6 years later was out of prison by 1999. In court, it was also revealed Boyle served 2 years for breaking and entering in the North Carolina Department of Corrections and had a 1997 misdemeanor conviction for assault on a woman.
He appeared relaxed, even rocking in his chair as the brutal details of Sierra's murder were recounted. His apparent lack of remorse only fueled the prosecution's case. Judge Susana L. Ortiz ordered Lawrence to remain in custody without bail, ruling that there was no evidence to support any claims of self-defense, an argument that his attorney had hinted at. The prosecution strongly opposed any self-defense claims, pointing to the brutality of the attack and the fact that Sierra was unarmed. Physical evidence on her body, including marks consistent with strangulation, further solidified their case. Following this initial hearing, Lawrence was scheduled to return to court for further proceedings. As the case moved forward, it continued to draw national attention, sparking broader conversations about domestic violence and the dangers of unchecked aggression.
Prosecutors say that the victim, Sierra Jamison, had known Lawrence Boyle for 10 years, and just a few weeks before she was murdered, they had started a romantic relationship. Jamison spoke with us back in August.
As the trial unfolded, one question lingered in the minds of many. Why? How could a relationship that started with a decade of friendship spiral into such a horrific tragedy? While the most obvious answer was Lawrence's inability to handle rejection, the truth ran much deeper. Lawrence's history of violence revealed a disturbing pattern, one that painted a picture of a man incapable of processing emotional conflict in a healthy way. His past was filled with repeated incidents of domestic abuse and violent outbursts, demonstrating an inability to cope with rejection or disappointment. These weren't isolated incidents but recurring warning signs of deeply rooted issues. Ultimately, these unresolved problems culminated in an unspeakable act of violence against Sierra, someone he once called a friend. Sierra's tragic death sent shockwaves through her community. Her family and friends were left reeling, devastated by the sudden loss of a young woman who had so much ahead of her. More than just a dedicated mother, Sierra was ambitious. She had been preparing to start nursing school, eager to build a brighter future. Her aunt, Corella Williams, spoke out about the impact of the murder, expressing her grief and outrage. She emphasized that Lawrence's inability to accept rejection as an adult led to an unnecessary and horrific escalation. He didn't take the rejection like a man, he let it consume him, she said.
She finally went through the backyard to go in the garage, and she found my cousin laying on the floor, lifeless. Truly took a gift from God away from us, and it's beyond sad.
2 at 10 tonight, charges have been filed against a man accused of strangling a Southside mother. Lawrence Boyle is charged with murder and is expected in court tomorrow. Police say he killed Sierra Jamison Monday night in Greater Grand Crossing. Jamison's mother found her in the garage of her home where she lived with her 6-year-old son.
The case became more than just a story of one woman's tragic end. It served as a stark reminder of the dangers of domestic violence and the urgent need for better support systems to protect potential victims. Sierra's murder wasn't just a singular act of violence. It was the final, devastating consequence of a pattern that had been ignored for far too long. This sentiment resonated deeply with the community, as many recognized the broader implications of violence against women. In the wake of Sierra's tragic death, her family organized memorial events to honor her memory and bring people together in grief and solidarity. One such gathering was a balloon release held at 6:30 p.m. on September 20, 2023, in the 4500 block of West Jackson Boulevard. Family, friends, and community members came together to share their cherished memories of Sierra, celebrate her life, and express their sorrow over her untimely passing. Sierra's funeral was an emotional and heartbreaking occasion, attended by loved ones and those who had been touched by her story. It provided an opportunity for those who knew her to reflect on her life, her aspirations, and the bright future she had envisioned for herself and her son. As they mourned, many attendees also used the moment to raise awareness about domestic violence, emphasizing the need for stronger support systems for women at risk. The grief felt by Sierra's family and friends extended beyond personal loss. It became a rallying cry for justice. Her story ignited discussions on domestic violence, particularly within the Black community, underscoring the urgent need for societal change. In the aftermath of her murder, Sierra's family focused on one of the most important aspects of her legacy, her son. Determined to secure his future, they launched community support initiatives, including a GoFundMe campaign to provide financial assistance for his education and well-being. This effort reflected not only the family's dedication but also the community's overwhelming desire to help the child who had lost his mother in such a tragic and senseless way. On the GoFundMe page they showed their sorrow that she was truly one of a kind and knowing her was a gift. Our heart aches thinking about her 6-year-old son who's now without his mother. We need to come together to support him and help secure his future. The road ahead will be challenging, especially with the long-term costs of raising a child, but I know our community can make a difference. As they sought justice for Sierra, her loved ones also worked tirelessly to create a stable and nurturing environment for her son. Losing his mother at such a young age would undoubtedly leave a lasting emotional impact, and his family was committed to ensuring he received the love, care, and support he needed to navigate this difficult chapter. As legal proceedings against Lawrence moved forward, the case served as a stark reminder of the dangers of domestic violence and the importance of community action. Sierra's tragic story serves as a powerful call to action. It forces us to ask difficult but necessary questions. How do we recognize the warning signs of violence in long-standing relationships? What steps can we take to better equip individuals and communities to prevent such tragedies? Sierra and Lawrence had known each other for nearly a decade before their brief romance turned fatal, proving that even years of friendship do not guarantee a healthy relationship. If that alone is not enough, then what is? As we reflect on Sierra's story, we are reminded that domestic violence can take many forms and no one is immune. It is up to all of us to stay vigilant, support survivors, and demand change before another life is lost.
Employees recognize him as a teacher's husband, so they allowed him in, and he signed in. And you can see he does not look agitated or angry. After signing his name, he leaves the office and enters a hallway into the school. Moments later, inside her classroom, he shot and killed her and 8-year-old student Jonathan Martinez.
So me and my baby's on our honeymoon.
Oh, your video?
Yeah, video.
Oh!
In the early hours of April 10, 2017, police rushed to North Park Elementary School in San Bernardino, California, after frantic 911 calls reported gunfire inside a classroom. When officers entered classroom B1, they were met with a scene no school should ever contain. Karen Elaine Smith, a 53-year-old special education teacher, lay fatally shot at the front of her classroom. Nearby were injured children. Moments later, the man responsible, her husband, was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The shooter was Cedric Anderson, a United States Navy veteran who had legally walked into the school that morning under the guise of visiting his wife. What initially appeared to be a school shooting was quickly revealed to be something far more personal and far more preventable, a case of domestic violence that had crossed into a place meant to protect children. Just 73 days earlier, Cedric and Karen had been newlyweds. There were wedding photos, honeymoon videos, and public declarations of love. To the outside world, they looked like a couple starting a hopeful new chapter.
So me and my baby's on our honeymoon.
Oh, your video?
Yeah, video.
Oh!
So now, see how much fun you're having, baby.
A regular shot. Hi, we're having such a good time.
We have been having a good time.
Yeah.
She got me hiking. Ooh, out here in Sedona. Us and all the folks.
Yeah, we're gonna do a lot more.
Us and all the folks. We out here hiking. We're having a ball. It's been nice.
But behind the smiles and vows, the relationship was already unraveling. Accusations, control, and fear were taking root, signs that Karen Elaine Smith would never get the chance to escape. To understand how this violence made its way into an elementary school classroom, we have to go back to late January 2017, to the beginning of a marriage that concealed a deadly ending. Karen Elaine Smith was born on November 17, 1963, in Los Angeles, California, growing up in the Harbor City area of Los Angeles County. From an early age, Karen was known for her quiet steadiness and sincerity. Her mother, Irma Sykes, would later describe her daughter as a woman of no guile or pretense. Someone genuine, kind, and deeply principled. That description followed Karen throughout her life, echoed by friends, family members, co-workers, and the many students whose lives she would eventually touch. Before Karen ever stepped into a classroom as a professional educator, she dedicated nearly a decade of her life to something she valued just as deeply, her family. She spent 8 years homeschooling her 4 children, pouring her time and energy into their education during their formative years. By the time of her death, all 4 of her children were adults, a reflection of the long chapter of motherhood Karen had already completed before choosing to pursue a new path for herself. Only after ensuring her children had a strong educational foundation did Karen decide to return to school and follow a lifelong passion for teaching. Education became a shared mission between mother and daughter. In a rare and deeply meaningful experience, Karen and Irma Sykes earned their teaching credentials together, supporting one another through the process. That journey led Karen into a 10-year career in education, a profession in which she found what her family described as extreme joy. Teaching wasn't just a job for Karen, it was a calling. By the time of her death on April 10, 2017, she was 53 years old and in her second year as a special education teacher at North Park Elementary School in San Bernardino, where she worked closely with students who required patience, structure, and compassion. Just months earlier, on January 28, 2017, Karen had entered what many believed was a hopeful new chapter in her personal life. She married Cedric Charles Anderson, formally beginning what appeared to be a love story 4 years in the making. The couple had been dating since approximately 2013, and to friends, family members, and their church community, the relationship appeared stable, committed, and built on mutual affection.
Okay, Tim.
Yeah, Tim.
Still.
It is delicious.
Happy wives, happy husbands. The new members club. Tim and Karen, we're having fun. Thanks a lot.
Publicly, there were no obvious signs of turmoil. Karen continued to show up every day as the calm, dependable teacher her students relied on. At 53 years old, Karen balanced multiple identities with quiet strength: educator, mother, wife, and caregiver. Her previous 21-year marriage, which ended in 2009, had shaped much of her adult life, but she carried no bitterness from it. Instead, she focused forward, finding renewed purpose in the classroom and fulfillment in helping children with learning disabilities navigate a world that often moved too fast for them. To those around her, Karen Elaine Smith was someone who gave more than she took, who believed in patience, faith, and doing the right thing, even when it required personal sacrifice. Karen's mother, Irma Sykes, would later describe her daughter as a deeply kind and principled woman, a devout Christian who kept her struggles private and rarely asked others for help. Karen did not like to burden people with her problems, nor did she want anything to jeopardize her reputation as a professional educator. Cedric, who was also 53, appeared to complement her perfectly. From the outside, he presented himself as a loving and devoted husband. His social media pages told a carefully curated story, one of admiration and affection. He regularly posted photos of Karen, accompanied by heartfelt captions praising her and expressing how much she meant to him. Just 3 weeks before the tragedy, on March 11, 2017, Cedric shared a Facebook post referring to Karen as an angel. The post stood in chilling contrast to the private reality that was already unfolding behind closed doors. Footage from the couple's honeymoon in Sedona, Arizona, shows them hiking, laughing, and enjoying outdoor adventures together, appearing carefree and optimistic as they talked about their future. To anyone watching, they looked like a newly married couple savoring the beginning of a shared life. But what the camera failed to capture was the rapid shift already taking place beneath the surface, the emotional volatility, the growing control, and the instability that would soon dominate their marriage. Within just 3 weeks of their wedding day, the relationship began to deteriorate at an alarming pace. Cedric started accusing Karen of being unfaithful, launching into verbal tirades that quickly escalated into threats. His behavior became increasingly erratic and unsettling. Any controlling tendencies that may have seemed minor or dismissible during their 4-year courtship suddenly became impossible to ignore. Karen's family immediately sensed danger. Her mother, Irma Sykes, urged her to leave the marriage as soon as possible, warning her that the man she had married was not who he appeared to be. She thought she had a wonderful husband, Sykes would later tell reporters, her words heavy with pain and regret. But she found out he was not wonderful at all. If you're finding these stories meaningful or informative, please consider subscribing to our channel. It really helps us keep bringing you more content like this. By mid-March 2017, barely 6 weeks after exchanging vows, Karen made the difficult decision to leave. She moved out of the home she had briefly shared with Cedric and began staying with family members, dividing her time between relatives' houses in Riverside and Moreno Valley. True to her nature, Karen confided in only a small circle of trusted family members about the abuse she was experiencing. Even as the situation escalated, she remained guarded, reluctant to share her struggles beyond those closest to her. Cedric's reaction to the separation was deeply troubling. He oscillated between desperate attempts to reconcile and increasingly alarming threats. Despite the physical distance Karen had created, he refused to let go. He drove past his daughter's home, where Karen was staying, multiple times. He sent her a relentless stream of messages, including 27 unanswered text messages on April 9 alone, the day before he would kill her. Many of the texts professed love and remorse, but woven into them were statements that, in hindsight, were unmistakable warning signs. 2 weeks before the shooting, Cedric confided in an acquaintance at a gas station, venting about his failing marriage. During the conversation, he reportedly made choking gestures while talking about his wife and even mentioned threats to, in his words, kill the family. What makes this case especially chilling is the double life Cedric maintained until the very end. While privately stalking his estranged wife and voicing violent thoughts to acquaintances, he continued to post loving messages about Karen online. Friends, church members, and even some relatives who were unaware of the abuse saw only the public version of Cedric Anderson, a devoted husband, never realizing the private nightmare Karen Elaine Smith was desperately trying to escape. April 10, 2017 began like any other school day at North Park Elementary School in San Bernardino, California. The campus, which served roughly 580 students from kindergarten through 6th grade, was already operating under heightened security procedures. Just 16 months earlier, in December 2015, San Bernardino had been the site of a devastating terrorist attack at the Inland Regional Center, where 14 people were killed and 22 others were seriously injured. The community was still struggling to heal from that trauma, and local schools had implemented additional safety measures in response. Yet on this particular morning, those precautions would prove tragically insufficient against a threat that did not come from an unknown outsider, but from someone with legitimate access to the school. a teacher's husband. At approximately 10:27 a.m., frantic 911 calls began pouring into the San Bernardino Police Department. Multiple callers reported hearing gunshots inside the school building, specifically coming from classroom B1, the special education classroom taught by Karen Elaine Smith. What those callers were describing was the result of Cedric Anderson's carefully planned and deliberate attack on his estranged wife.
In just-released video, we see the gunman Cedric Anderson. At first, he walks by the office to try to get in a door at North Park Elementary in San Bernardino. There is no sign of no sign that he's about to go on a murder rampage. The door is locked, so Anderson calmly goes to the school office. Employees recognize him as a teacher's husband, so they allowed him in, and he signed in. And you can see he does not look agitated or angry. Of course, the office staff had no way to know what he was planning. After signing his name, he leaves the office and enters a hallway into the school. Moments later, Anderson confronted his estranged wife, Karen Smith, a special needs teacher. Inside her classroom, he killed her and 8-year-old student Jonathan Martinez.
Anderson had arrived at the school earlier that morning with a clear and calculated plan. He signed in at the front office, telling staff he was there to drop off an item for his wife. This raised no immediate concerns. Spouses and family members occasionally stopped by the school to deliver forgotten items or messages. Few people at the school were aware that Karen and Cedric were separated, as she had chosen to keep her personal life private. After signing in, Anderson walked directly to Karen's classroom. Inside were 15 special needs students, ranging from 1st through 4th grade, actively engaged in their lessons. Karen was teaching alongside 2 classroom aides, working in the calm, structured environment she had spent years building for her students. What happened next would leave lasting trauma on every person inside that room. Anderson pulled out a handgun and opened fire. He discharged 10 rounds in total, reloading the weapon once. His focus was singular. His target was Karen Elaine Smith. He shot her multiple times, making sure his estranged wife would not survive the attack. In the chaos of his rage-filled assault, Anderson also struck 2 young students who were positioned behind their teacher. 8-year-old Jonathan Alfredo Martinez and a 9-year-old boy were both hit by gunfire. Innocent children who became collateral damage in an act of domestic violence that should never have been able to reach them inside their school. The remaining 13 students and the 2 aides fled the classroom in absolute terror. Some were covered in blood. Others were frozen in shock, struggling to comprehend what they had just witnessed. After confirming that Karen was dead and making no attempt to escape, Anderson turned the gun on himself. He died from a self-inflicted gun wound inside the very classroom where he had just destroyed so many lives. Police response to the shooting was swift. Officers arrived on scene within 7 minutes of the first 911 calls, an impressive response time that may have prevented even more casualties had Anderson chosen to continue firing. 8 officers immediately secured the perimeter, evacuated students and staff, and began the grim task of assessing the devastation inside classroom B1. San Bernardino Police Chief Jared Bergen arrived shortly afterward and quickly classified the incident as a domestic-related murder-suicide, citing witness statements, the clear relationship between the shooter and the primary victim, and the absence of evidence suggesting any broader target.
What we were told was that there was an allegation of infidelity in the relationship. It appears that he had been making efforts to contact her and to have her come back home, and she was resistant to that, and I don't know if that just reached a boiling point.
After the gunfire stopped inside classroom B1, the focus shifted immediately to saving the lives of the children who had been caught in the violence. Both wounded students were rushed to nearby hospitals, their injuries treated as medical emergencies. The 9-year-old boy, later identified as Nolan Brandy, had suffered severe trauma. Doctors discovered that he had a broken rib and significant internal injuries, including damage to his liver and kidneys. Despite the seriousness of his condition, medical teams believed he had a chance to survive, describing his prognosis as guarded but cautiously optimistic. The situation was far more dire for Jonathan Alfredo Martinez, the 8-year-old who had been seated behind his teacher when the shots were fired. Jonathan lived with Williams syndrome, a rare genetic disorder that causes developmental delays and often requires lifelong medical and emotional support. The bullets caused multiple perforations to his internal organs, injuries so severe that local hospitals were not equipped to handle them. He was airlifted to Loma Linda University Medical Center, where trauma surgeons worked around the clock in an effort to stabilize him. Despite their relentless efforts, Jonathan's injuries were simply too extensive. On April 11, 2017, one day after the shooting, Jonathan passed away. His death made him the third fatality in an act of violence that should never have occurred. For Jonathan's family, the loss was beyond devastating. They were already navigating the complexities of raising a child with special needs, a role that demands extraordinary patience, advocacy, and love. Now, instead of continuing that journey, they were forced to plan their son's funeral. All of it stemmed from a moment of unchecked rage, carried into a place that was supposed to be safe, a classroom filled with children. While doctors fought to save lives inside hospitals, chaos unfolded outside the school. Parents flooded the area after hearing reports of an active shooter, many receiving little to no official communication from the school itself. Some learned about the shooting through social media alerts or breaking news coverage, intensifying the fear and confusion. For hours, parents waited in agony, unsure whether their child was unharmed, injured, or worse. The scene outside North Park Elementary was overwhelming. Ambulances lined the streets, police cars and fire trucks crowded the area, helicopters hovered overhead, and terrified families pleaded for answers that authorities could not yet provide.
A single classroom on the school campus. The suspect had come to the classroom to visit the adult female that was in the classroom. We believe the two children were the unfortunate recipients by being in proximity to the female at the time of the incident.
When parents were finally reunited with their children, relief was often mixed with shock.
We're taking it moment by moment. It's pretty unnerving.
It's stressful. I just want him to be okay and to feel safe.
Can get in without being pre-approved. That's the big one. It shouldn't have been like that in the first place.
Not everything happens in healing in one day. This is going to take us some time.
Many children were visibly shaken, some unable to speak about what they had seen. Parents could see it in their faces, the fear, the confusion, and the trauma that would not simply fade once they left the school grounds. That day marked a permanent shift for the families and the community, leaving emotional scars that would last far beyond the headlines. Karen Elaine Smith was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Covina, California, a place where her family and loved ones can visit and remember her life. Her legacy did not end with her death. It lives on through her 4 children who carry her values forward, and through the countless students whose lives were shaped by her gentle guidance, patience, and unwavering dedication to special education. Despite spending only a short time at North Park Elementary School, Karen left an impact that far outlasted her years there. Those who knew her remember her not just as a teacher, but as a pure spirit, someone who approached her work with compassion, humility, and genuine care. She was deeply committed to helping children with special needs grow, learn, and believe in themselves, and that devotion remains the truest reflection of who Karen Elaine Smith was and how she will continue to be remembered.
So me and my baby's on our honeymoon.
Oh, your video?
Yeah, video.
Oh.
So now, see how much fun you having, baby.
A regular shot. Hi. We're having such a good time.
We have been having a good time.
Yeah.
She got me hiking. Ooh, out here in Sedona. Us and all the folks.
Yeah, we're gonna do a lot more.
Us and all the folks. We out here hiking. We're having a ball. It's been nice. Okay, Tim.
Yeah, Tim. It is delicious.
Happy wives, happy husbands. The new members club. Tim and Karen, we're having fun. Thanks a lot.
This case serves as a stark reminder that domestic violence does not exist in isolation. When warning signs are missed, minimized, or hidden behind closed doors, the consequences can reach far beyond the home, into classrooms, communities, and the lives of those who had no connection to the conflict at all. North Park Elementary would eventually reopen, but for the families, students, and teachers affected, nothing would ever truly return to normal. The legacy of that day lives on, not only in grief, but in the urgent reminder of why recognizing and addressing domestic violence early can mean the difference between life and death.
I just feel like he just might be somewhere else. Might be trying to get his mind right, maybe try and get himself together. I mean, he a Virgo, like me, and the world starts stressing me out, I get out of there too. While I'm working between us.
We, the body, they ain't got nothing on me. and we gonna get off.
In March of 2019, concern began to grow around the unexplained disappearance of 32-year-old Leon Harrison Jr., a father of two from Georgetown, South Carolina. The alarm was raised by the mother of his children, Brittany Green, who knew his habits better than anyone. No matter what was happening in Leon's life, arguments, distance, or stress, he always called his children at bedtime. It was a routine he never missed. So when days passed without a single call, Brittany knew something was wrong. At first, people hoped there was a simple explanation. Leon had a history of misplacing his phone. On one occasion, he had gone nearly a week without one. But this time felt different. 2 full weeks had gone by since anyone had last seen or heard from him. Friends, family, and loved ones began quietly asking questions. Rumors spread. Every conflict in Leon's life was suddenly re-examined. And then, just as fear began to harden into dread, a grim discovery changed everything. This story takes us to the quiet coastal town of Georgetown, South Carolina, a place known for its historic charm, scenic waterfront views, and close-knit community. It's the kind of town where people notice when something is off. On Saturday, March 11, 2019, Brittany Green walked into the Georgetown Police Department to report Leon missing. She told detectives that Leon, the father of her 11-year-old son and 9-year-old daughter, had been unreachable for several days. The last confirmed sighting of Leon was in late February at his father's house, where he attended a family birthday celebration. Since February 25th, no one had seen him. No phone calls. No messages. No social media activity. Nothing. Leon was born on February 1984. Brittany described Leon as a devoted father who made his children a priority. Friends echoed that sentiment, telling investigators Leon, known as JR to those close to him, was easygoing, friendly, and not the type to get involved in dangerous situations. He wasn't someone who picked fights or disappeared intentionally. Almost immediately, detectives began to suspect that this was not a voluntary disappearance. Only hours after Brittany left the police station, those fears were reinforced. That same afternoon, the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office received a report of a body floating in the Black River. When deputies arrived and pulled the body from the water, it became clear that this was no accidental drowning. The Georgetown Police Department was called to the scene as investigators began noting details that closely matched Leon Harrison Jr. The same gender, ethnicity, approximate age, height, and build. Due to advanced decomposition, the body could not be visually identified. The medical examiner was unable to determine an exact cause of death. But what was immediately obvious was that this was a homicide. The man's hands and ankles were tightly bound, wrapped multiple times with electrical wire. Investigators believed the wire likely came from a wired speaker system, an improvised restraint that suggested planning rather than panic. For strategic reasons, police kept the discovery of the body quiet. If this was Leon, they wanted to speak with the people closest to him before word spread. They began retracing his final days and examining the most complicated part of his life: his relationships. In 2014, Leon married 32-year-old Tishanette Rue, who was originally from Washington, D.C. She had relocated to South Carolina with her brother Alexander Rue Jr. and her father Alexander Rue Sr. Their wedding took place in historic downtown Georgetown, near a waterfall, surrounded by friends, family, and children. Home videos from that time showed a couple that appeared genuinely happy, laughing, affectionate, and hopeful. After the wedding, Leon moved into the Rue family home on High Market Street.
What are those?
But as the years passed, cracks began to form. Friends later reported infidelity on both sides. Trust eroded. Arguments became more frequent. Eventually, Leon and Tish separated and Leon moved out. Despite the separation, the relationship never fully ended. The two continued seeing each other off and on while also pursuing other romantic partners. Leon began dating a woman named Rosario, while Tish also explored relationships of her own. To outsiders, it was unclear whether Leon and Tish were heading toward reconciliation or a permanent split. Even those closest to them couldn't say for certain. The timing of Leon's disappearance raised troubling questions. The week before Leon vanished, Tish had traveled to Washington, D.C., on a family trip and stayed there for several days. During that time, Leon spent time with Rosario. But when Tish returned to Georgetown, tensions resurfaced almost immediately. On the evening of February 25th, the last day Leon was known to be alive, Rosario received multiple phone calls from Leon's phone. When she answered the first call, she was shocked to hear Tish on the other end, not Leon. According to Rosario, Tish was angry, yelling, and cursing at her.
This had to been after 10 by now. And it was the wife. And all I said was hello. And she started talking, yeah, they are over here. Y'all fucked up, which y'all thought y'all was smarter than me. Y'all was gonna outsmart me.
Is this the first time you ever talked to this woman?
No.
Oh, okay.
And I hung up the phone.
Rosario hung up, but the calls didn't stop. At least 2 more calls came in from Leon's phone. Then the text messages began. To investigators, this detail stood out sharply. If Leon was the one making the calls, why wasn't he speaking? Why was his phone in someone else's hands? As detectives continued piecing together the timeline, the picture grew darker. Evidence would later suggest that Leon went to the Rue family home that night and never left alive. What began as a confrontation fueled by jealousy would allegedly escalate into violence, restraint, and ultimately murder. When the body recovered from the Black River was officially identified as Leon Harrison Jr., the case shifted from a missing persons investigation to a full-scale homicide inquiry. And as police dug deeper, they would come to believe that Leon's death was not the act of one person, but the result of a disturbing family alliance bound by secrecy, loyalty, and fear. What started as concern over a missed bedtime phone call had uncovered a crime that would shock Georgetown and forever alter the lives of everyone involved. From the very beginning, Rosario knew something wasn't right. On the night of February 25th, she received a series of phone calls and text messages from Leon Harrison Jr.'s phone. But the words didn't sound like Leon. The tone was cold, abrupt, and final. Nothing like the man she had been in a serious relationship with. One message in particular stood out. "I don't love you anymore." Another instructed her not to contact him again. Rosario immediately felt uneasy. Leon had never ended things that way. There was no argument between them. No warning. No build-up. The messages felt forced, almost scripted, as if someone else were trying to close a chapter that wasn't theirs to close.
And then she called back maybe like 5 minutes after that, and I didn't answer. I'm assuming that's when she left the first voicemail.
Okay.
And then a little bit of time went by. Got another call from his phone. I answered because I assumed if he was that intoxicated that he was trying to call me to correct the situation. But it was her again. I hung up the phone. And then that's when I got a text from the phone number, and it said, I can't be with you no more. I don't love you. I never will. But the way that the text was sent, I know he didn't text. He didn't write that. He doesn't use commas in between things or whatever. And if you look at the text messages in our phone, he don't use commas.
The next day, Rosario tried calling Leon. The call went straight to voicemail. She tried again later. Same result. Over the next several days, she continued calling, hoping he would answer or at least send a message explaining what was going on. He never did. It felt as though his phone had been shut off completely or taken out of his hands. Rosario later told police, Tish was not simply upset during the confrontation. She was openly enraged. She was ranting, raving, and hurling curses at Rosario, making her intentions unmistakably clear. In the middle of that outburst, she delivered a message that left a lasting impression. "You think you're going to have my man, and I can tell you that you're not." Rosario further told that this behavior wasn't isolated. She explained that Rue had been actively trying to win her husband back, inserting herself into Leon's life even as he was building a relationship elsewhere. According to Rosario, Leon himself had confided in her about a deeply unsettling statement his wife once made. He mentioned that his wife said, if she couldn't have him, nobody could, Rosario told officers during her interview, a comment that, in hindsight, carried chilling weight. As investigators would later learn, Rosario's instincts were right. When detectives interviewed Tish Rue, Leon's estranged wife, she confirmed that she had been with Leon on the evening of February 25th. Tish worked for Allied Universal Security Services and had just finished her shift at the Georgetown steel mill. According to her statement, she and Leon argued that night in the backyard of the High Market Street home, deliberately keeping their voices down so as not to wake the children sleeping inside. During that argument, Tish admitted she grabbed Leon's phone from his hands. She accused him of messaging Rosario and acknowledged that she had been angry. However, she minimized the intensity of her behavior. She framed it as a heated but ordinary confrontation between two people in a complicated marriage. According to Tish, the argument ended when Leon left the house. She told detectives she had not seen or heard from him since. But investigators weren't convinced. They told Tish directly that she was likely the last person to see Leon alive. Based on phone records, witness accounts, and timelines, all signs pointed back to that house on High Market Street.
Never. From the time he left your house up until the day, he has never texted you, called you. You have not been able to get in contact with him.
Nothing. I mean, I can show you nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. Like, I tried my best to reach out because my phone is so jacked up, excuse me. Because I'm used to that with him. Nothing.
If you've been here long enough, you know Georgetown's a small town, okay?
Absolutely.
And you know how word travels, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, we've been getting phone calls all morning.
Okay.
Okay, we've been getting calls from DC, we've been getting calls from all over the place. Okay? And everybody's saying that you're the one we need to be looking at.
I just don't like the fact that I'm being targeted because I would have never in any shape, form, or fashion hurt that man. I never said that I would hurt him. Nobody could say that, you know, like this baby mother, a couple other people I know have screamed at this guy and told him they want to kill him, get somebody to kill him, but then everybody wants to point at me because I'm the white.
Detectives made it clear. They believed something had happened to Leon, and suspicion was narrowing. As far as police could determine, Leon's last confirmed location was that home on the evening of February 25th. No one, not his children's mother Brittany, not his girlfriend Rosario, not his father, and not even Tish, could account for where he went afterward. There was a hole in the timeline, and it was growing harder to ignore. Investigators also began digging into the dynamics inside the Rue household. According to Brittany Green, Leon had previously told her that Tisha's brother, Alexander Rue Jr., had once come at him with a machete during an argument. It was a disturbing claim that raised immediate concerns about volatility inside the home. Alexander Rue Sr., however, downplayed any tension, telling police that the men had worked things out and there were no lingering issues. Alexander Rue Jr. himself was quick to speak with police. More than one witness described him as a fast talker, confident, eager, and willing to engage.
Had a brand new baby in the way, all type of stuff though. We filed my taxes. I was thinking I was gonna last Tuesday. Like I ain't going to miss her. I got a whole brand new address over here. I ain't going to.
Just get things started. Can you just state your name, please?
Alexander Rue Jr.
Tell me what happened, everything that happened that you can remember the last night you saw JR.
Last night I seen JR, and actually I didn't actually really see him. I heard him. He was outside arguing with my sister.
Okay.
You know, they always argue. They always go back and forth. They married. They always go back and forth. They always argue.
Yeah.
This and that. And then he leave a couple of days, come back. This and that. That's what they do. You know what I mean? But I don't stay out their business. I never do that.
He told detectives that Leon was not just his brother-in-law, but a good friend. He insisted he wanted to help in any way he could. Despite the cooperation, investigators remained cautious. 3 days after Leon was officially reported missing, on March 14th, the Georgetown Police Department executed a search warrant at the High Market Street home, the last place Leon was known to be alive. What they found inside the bedroom Leon and Tish once shared changed everything. Investigators noticed an area rug positioned in front of the closet that seemed oddly placed. When they lifted it, they found a flannel blanket underneath. Beneath the blanket was a section of carpet that had been deliberately cut and removed. The carpet padding below was exposed, and on it was a dark, dried stain that immediately caught investigators' attention. A presumptive field test was conducted. It came back positive for blood. As the search continued, detectives moved a stack of boxes positioned unnaturally at the foot of the bed. Underneath, they discovered another section of missing carpet. Again, the padding beneath was stained with what appeared to be blood. The deeper they looked, the worse it got. Smaller stains were found on the fitted sheet covering the mattress. Once the bedding was removed, larger, more concentrated stains were visible on the mattress itself. On the underside of the mattress, near the headboard and close to the bedroom door, investigators found another stain. A nearly identical one appeared in the same location on the box spring beneath it. When forensic teams applied chemical testing throughout the house, they uncovered latent evidence, transfer smudges that suggested something had been dragged or moved. These traces weren't confined to the bedroom. They extended into the hallway and toward the kitchen. This wasn't a single accident. It was a scene. When confronted with the findings, Tish offered explanations.
In the room, we found 2 pieces of missing carpet.
Yeah.
That had spots on them, and we tested spots, and they tested positive. And our question to you is, why? Do you have any reason why?
Those pieces of carpet was missing before
Me and my husband have been separated. He took them out. So
Mattress too. That's soaked all the way through.
yeah, from me being my period. It's my. I pretty much. I mean, when I was pregnant, I had that bed when I was in DC, and I had an issue. I mean, you know, accident, and then also recently I had an accident as well. I mean, that's normal. It didn't make no difference to me.
But there's also some stuff in the middle bed that looks like splatter that would not have been from a period.
I mean, you guys can look. Y'all do whatever y'all feel y'all need to do.
We're gonna test it. We're getting it off the test.
Absolutely fine to me. I'm not going to sit here and.
She claimed some of the blood was from old injuries. She said the mattress stains were already there when she got it, explaining that the bed had belonged to her mother and had been passed down to her. As for her brother, she firmly rejected any suggestion that he harbored hatred toward Leon. He would never hurt him, she insisted.
Don't think if I sit here and I say that I do not want to repeat what I've already said to you, that you can tell me that I'm guilty. Because we're not guilty of anything because we don't know if he's hurt. We don't know if anything is wrong with him. God willing, we hope he's okay.
That's right.
And that's something you should be writing on that paper. You guys need to stop with all this trying to make it seem like something is wrong with him. He might be fine.
He might, and I hope he is. I hope he comes in here in a little bit.
But you will not do this. You will not tear me apart. You're not going to do this. I'm trying my best to hold myself together. I have children. I cannot fall apart.
She also argued that there was still no definitive proof that Leon had been murdered, but police already knew better. Days after the body was pulled from the Black River, a member of Leon's family made a heartbreaking identification. Despite the deposition, they recognized a distinctive tattoo on Leon's inner left forearm, a tribute to his mother. There was no longer any doubt. Leon Harrison Jr. had been found. What began with suspicious text messages and unanswered calls had now revealed a hidden crime scene inside the home he had walked into alive, and never walked out of. And as investigators pressed forward, the evidence pointed not toward a stranger, but toward the people Leon trusted most. As the investigation into Leon Harrison Jr.'s murder continued, detectives returned to the house on High Market Street, not once, but twice more. By now, they were no longer searching for answers to whether a crime had occurred. They knew it had. What they needed was proof tying specific people to what happened after Leon was killed. One detail continued to stand out. When Leon's body was recovered from the Black River, his hands and ankles were bound with electrical wire. Earlier searches of the house had revealed loose wires in the bedroom and inside a backpack. Investigators believed these wires could have come from a speaker system. On their follow-up searches, detectives focused specifically on locating speaker wire that matched what had been used to restrain Leon. Despite their efforts, a definitive match was never found. Still, police were certain of one thing. 3 adults were inside the home on the night Leon was killed. Tish Rue, her brother Alexander Rue Jr., and their father Alexander Rue Sr. And as detectives spoke with witnesses, a pattern emerged. Time and again, fingers pointed toward Tish and her fiercely protective brother Alex Jr. as the most likely people responsible. Then the case took a major turn. A new witness came forward. Antoine Simmons, a friend of Alex Jr. Antoine told detectives that the Saturday after Leon went missing, he and Alex Jr. had spent the day moving furniture for a friend from Myrtle Beach to Georgetown.
He just was like, took him for a little ride. Him and my sister fell out, Talking about, he gave my sister a disease. He's cheating on my sister, back in child support and this, that, and the third. So,
He was telling you all this
while
I
was riding, My cousin in the back, but he don't know what's going on. I got the music playing. I keep telling him, man, chill out with that,
During the drive, Alex talked nonstop. Antoine said this wasn't unusual. Alex was known for talking fast and exaggerating stories. Because of that, Antoine admitted he often didn't take what Alex said very seriously. But after learning that Leon was missing, and later dead, Antoine couldn't stop replaying that conversation in his head. According to Antoine, Alex went on a rant about Leon cheating on his sister. He claimed Leon had given Tish a venereal disease. Alex spoke with anger, resentment, and a sense of justification. Then he said something that stuck with Antoine. He claimed he had taken Leon for a ride. Antoine recalled Alex saying, "He's out of here." What made the statement even more chilling was what came next. Alex didn't describe acting alone. He said, they all knew. By they, Antoine understood Alex to mean his family, his sister and his father. For investigators, Antoine's account filled in a critical gap. It suggested motive, intent, and collaboration. Digital evidence soon backed it up. GPS data from the cell phones belonging to Tish, Alex Jr., and Alexander Sr. showed all three were together at the High Market Street house that night, just as they had admitted. But the data also revealed something they had not disclosed. Around 1 a.m., two of the phones traveled to an area near a local Walmart. Surveillance cameras there captured the rental vehicle the Rue family was using at the time. Footage showed the car pulling into the parking lot and dropping off one individual, later identified as Alex Jr. Inside the store, Alex Jr. was recorded purchasing 2 bottles of hydrogen peroxide. A man resembling his father was also seen entering the store and using the restroom before meeting Alex Jr. back at the vehicle. Shortly after that, around 2 a.m., all 3 phones went dark. Tisha's, Alex Jr.'s and Alexander Sr.'s phones were powered off simultaneously. When they were turned back on, all 3 devices were back at the High Market Street house. Where they went during the time the phones were off was unknown. What investigators did know was that Leon Harrison Jr. ultimately ended up bound and left in the Black River. When police questioned Alexander Sr. about his whereabouts that night, he failed to mention the late-night Walmart trip entirely. Investigators later concluded he had deliberately misled them about both his own movements and his son's actions in the early morning hours of February 26. That lie had consequences. Alexander Rue Sr. was arrested and charged with obstruction of justice. His son, Alexander Rue Jr., was charged with murder. When Alex Jr. was brought into the police station, something changed. The man who had always been eager to talk, the fast talker, the storyteller, went silent. But not forever. While awaiting trial in custody, Alex Jr. began talking again, this time to fellow inmates. One of them was a man named Austin Kites, who had ties to the Georgetown community. In a twist of fate, Austin was friends with Leon Harrison Jr.'s aunt. According to Austin, Alex Jr. spoke confidently about the case. He believed he was untouchable.
Hurt. I'm mad. Just said I'm gonna stay off social media. I'm gonna stay off all that shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm going through enough, man. This shit kicking my ass. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like he just might be somewhere else. Might be trying to get his mind right. Maybe trying to get himself together. I mean, he a Virgo, like me. And the world starts stressing me out. I get out of there too. Shit, while I'm working between us. I don't know, maybe trying to fix himself. I don't know what the going on, man. All this shit just came about this morning, you know what I'm saying? I get up out my bed.
Both his sister and his father were incarcerated, but none of them were talking. Alex was convinced that without a confession, the prosecution had no case. He thought they would all walk free. He was wrong. In the fall of 2021, all 3 members of the Rue family went on trial. Prosecutors laid out a case built on physical evidence, digital tracking, witness testimony, and a timeline that left little room for doubt. The jury heard about the argument on February 25. They heard about the suspicious text messages sent from Leon's phone. They saw photos of the hidden blood evidence in the bedroom. They reviewed GPS data, surveillance footage, and heard Antoine Simmons recount Alex Jr.'s disturbing statements. The case that followed was anything but simple. It stretched on at length and demanded intense focus from the jury. Jurors patiently sat through hours of recorded interviews, along with testimony from multiple witnesses who presented highly technical and detailed evidence. Reflecting on their role, 15th Circuit solicitor expressed gratitude, noting that both the state and the victim's family deeply appreciated the jury's careful attention and their diligent fulfillment of such an important civic duty. Assistant solicitor echoed that sentiment, adding that she hoped the verdicts would offer some measure of closure to Leon Harrison Jr.'s loved ones, especially his 2 children, his father and his brothers, who have endured unimaginable loss. In late October 2021, verdicts were finally delivered. Tish Rue and Alexander Rue Jr. were both found guilty of murder and obstruction of justice. Each was sentenced to 37 years for murder, plus 8 additional years for obstruction, to be served concurrently. Alexander Rue Sr., 61 years old at the time, was acquitted of murder but found guilty of obstruction of justice. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison, followed by 3 years of probation. The case remains a notable example of the blood is thicker than water mentality, as prosecutors argued the entire family chose to assist in a brutal crime rather than hold one of their own accountable. If you're finding these stories meaningful or informative, please consider subscribing to our channel. It really helps us keep bringing you more content like this. What are your thoughts on this case? Let us know in the comments below.